Welcome back to Edge of XG. This is the Bundesliga 2 expected goals rating report for March 21st, 2026. In this episode, we move through the full weekly picture in a simple order. First, the power index. Second, the last 5 matches form table. Third, the round 27 forecast card. And finally, the market value radar, where the model highlights the strongest price gaps on the board. Let's begin with the big picture. At the top of the power index, Hannover 96 lead the league with an overall rating of 0.387. They sit above Elversberg in second place on 0.286 and Schalke in third on 0.275. Paderborn are fourth, Arminia, Bielefeld are fifth, and Magdeburg are sixth. That top 6 tells an important story. Hannover are still the strongest overall side in the model. Elversberg remain close enough to stay relevant. Schalke are right near the top as well, and that becomes even more important when we move into recent form. Paderborn and Arminia are also holding solid positions, which means the upper half of the table is competitive even if Hannover still lead the snapshot. Below them, Bochum are 7th, Fortuna Düsseldorf are 8th, and Darmstadt are 9th. Then the lower half begins with Hertha, followed by Dynamo Dresden, Kaiserslautern, Eintracht Braunschweig, Nürnberg, Holstein Kiel, Karlsruhe, Greuther Fürth, and finally Preußen Münster at the bottom. So the model sees Hannover as the strongest overall team, but the lower half is crowded and unstable. That matters, because in a league like this, recent form can quickly shift the outlook for individual matches. Now let's move to form. In the last 5 matches table, Schalke are the number 1 team in the league right now. Their form strength is 1.710, which puts them clearly ahead of the rest of the field in the recent window. Karlsruhe are 2nd, Kaiserslautern are 3rd, Arminia are 4th, and Paderborn are 5th. Dynamo Dresden are 6th, Fortuna Düsseldorf are 7th, Greuther Fürth are 8th, and Elversberg are 9th. Now here is one of the key contrasts in the report. Hannover are the top overall team in the main power index, but they are only 14th in the recent form table. Schalke, on the other hand, are 3rd in the overall power structure and 1st in recent form. That is a strong combination. At the bottom of the recent form table, Preußen Münster are last, Magdeburg are just above them, and Braunschweig also sit deep in the negative zone. Nürnberg and Holstein Kiel are not in good recent shape either. So before we even touch the match forecasts, we already have 2 major ideas for the week. Hannover still lead the broad strength model. Schalke are the hottest team in the short-term window. Now let's go match by match. The first forecast is Elversberg against Arminia Bielefeld. Elversberg are projected at 1.79 expected goals, while Arminia are at 1.18. On the surface, that looks like a decent home edge, but once the full probability model is applied, the draw actually comes out on top at 43.6%. The home win is 38.9%, and the away win is only 17.6%. That is one of the most important matches on the board, because it shows how expected goals and full outcome probability are not always the same thing. Elversberg have the stronger attacking expectation, but the overall result structure still leans toward a draw. The top scorelines reflect that. 1-1 leads the way, followed by 1-0 and 2-1. Over 2.5 goals is 58.8%, and over 9.5 corners is 59.5%. Next up is Paderborn against Dynamo Dresden. Paderborn are projected at 1.83 expected goals, while Dresden are at 1.11. But again, the match is tighter than it first appears. The draw is the highest result at 42.0%, with the home win just behind at 41.7%. The away win is 16.4%. The top score lines are 1-1, 1-0, and 2-1. So this is another match where the draw sits right at the center of the distribution. Over 2.5 goals comes in at 58.3%, and over 9.5 corners is 56.8%. Not an extreme game, but still active enough in both goals and corners to stay interesting. Then we move to Nürnberg against Kaiserslautern. Nürnberg are projected at 1.75 expected goals, and Kaiserslautern are at 1.55. The draw is again the highest outcome at 39.5%. The home win is 34.3%, and the away win is 26.3%. The top scorelines are 1-1, 2-1, and 1-2. This is a very balanced game, with both sides carrying a path to victory, but with the draw still sitting at the center. Over 2.5 goals is 63.8%, which makes this one of the stronger goal environments on the card. On the corner side, the over 9.5 line is much less aggressive at 46.0%. Now to one of the headline matches of the report, Darmstadt against Schalke. Darmstadt are projected at 1.43 expected goals, while Schalke come in at 1.49. That is a very narrow edge for the away side, and once the full matrix is applied, the draw becomes the strongest single result on the whole board at 48.6%. The home win is 25.4%, and the away win is 25.9%. That means this is the strongest outcome on the board, and it is not a side. It is the draw. The scoreline cluster matches that exactly. 1-1 is the top outcome, followed by 0-1 and 1-2. Over 2.5 goals is 58.3%, and over 9.5 corners is 51.1%. Now let's look at Bochum against Holstein Kiel. Bochum are projected at 2.01 expected goals, while Kiel are at 1.30. The home win is 46.8%. The draw is 33.0%, and the away win is 20.2%. This is one of the stronger home positions in the report, but not a runaway one. The top score lines are 1-1, 2-1, and 1-0, and this match also carries the strongest corners environment on the entire card. Expected total corners are 11.16, and over 9.5 corners lands at 65.4%. That is the highest corners probability in the report. Over 2.5 goals is also strong at 63.8%. Then we get to Fortuna Düsseldorf against Hertha. Düsseldorf are projected at 1.67 expected goals, and Hertha are at 1.30. But the biggest feature of this match is not the home edge. It is the draw probability. The draw is 46.6%, which makes it the second strongest draw setup on the board, behind only Darmstadt against Schalke. The home win is 33.1%, and the away win is 20.2%. The top scorelines are 1-1, 1-0, and 2-1. So the structure is very similar to a lot of this week's card. A modest home edge in the chance numbers, but a heavy draw center in the probability matrix. Over 2.5 goals is 58.9%, while over 9.5 corners is 49.1%. The final match in the report is Preußen Münster against Magdeburg. Preußen Münster are projected at 1.50 expected goals, while Magdeburg are at 1.97. The away side are the strongest team in this match by expected goals, and they are also the most likely winner at 43.7%. The draw is 28.9%, and the home win is 27.4%. The top score lines are 1-1, 1-2, and 0-2. This match also carries the strongest goals probability on the board. Over 2.5 goals lands at 66.4%, which is the highest total goals number in the report. So if one game on the card looks most likely to clear the 2.5 line, this is the one. Now let's close with the market value radar. In the one result category, the model strongly favors the draw in 3 matches. Darmstadt against Schalke leads the list, with market odds of 3.30 against a fair line of 2.06. Düsseldorf against Hertha is next, with market odds of 3.50 against a fair line of 2.14. Elversberg against Arminia is the third major draw value, with market odds of 3.80 against a fair line of 2.30. That tells you something important about this week's Bundesliga 2 card. The draw is not a background result, it is a central feature of the board. In the goals market, the strongest value positions are all on the over 2.5 side. Bochum against Holstein Kiel leads the list. Preußen Münster against Magdeburg comes next. Darmstadt against Schalke also makes the top group. And in the corners market, the model highlights under 10.5 corners in Nürnberg against Kaiserslautern as the strongest value entry. Düsseldorf against Hertha follows. Paderborn against Dresden is also listed, but with only a very small edge. So that is the weekly Bundesliga 2 picture. Hannover 96 remain the strongest overall team in the power structure. Schalke are the hottest team in recent form. Darmstadt against Schalke is the strongest draw setup on the board. Preußen Münster against Magdeburg is the strongest over 2.5 goals match. And Bochum against Holstein Kiel is the biggest corners environment of the week. This is the numbers first map for the round. Use it as the analytical base. Then add your own final layer from team news, injuries, tactics, motivation, and market movement. If you want weekly football analytics built on expected goals, team ratings, match probabilities, fair odds, and value spots across multiple leagues, subscribe to Edge of XG. Let's keep going.